Before modern machinery reached rural industries, raw materials were extracted directly from the land using simple tools, experience, and teamwork. In many regions of Germany, pottery depended on clay dug by hand from deep forest pits, a demanding winter task carried out under difficult conditions. In this film, Uncovered Past documents traditional clay mining as it was practiced before mechanization. Clay extraction for pottery was typically carried out during winter, when agricultural work slowed down. Potters traveled several kilometers into forest areas to locate suitable clay deposits. Old, water-filled shafts nearby served as reminders of earlier clay mining and helped determine where new pits could safely be opened. A new shaft had to be positioned carefully, far enough from older pits to avoid water intrusion or collapse. Once digging began, the surface layers of soil were removed until the pale clay layers became visible beneath. At this stage, the shaft was still shallow, but the groundwork for deeper excavation had been laid.
Auf einem Bündel von Tannenzweigen hat der Töpfermeister von der Nachbargrube Glut für das Grubenfeuer geholt. Wo der Schacht nun knietief niedergebracht ist, befand sich früher einmal das Tonbett einer längst eingesunkenen Grube. Beim Graben wird erst jetzt unter der hellen Tonlage die Humusschicht der ursprünglichen Erde.
Fire played an essential role during the workday, providing warmth and helping soften materials used in construction. Wooden rods were heated to make them flexible, allowing them to be shaped into bindings and supports. Other wooden elements were prepared nearby to reinforce the shaft as digging continued.
Werden gebraucht, das Schalungsmaterial für den Schacht herbeizuschaffen. Verbinden der Erdkaul, das heißt zum Auskleiden der Grube, verwendet man Weißbuchenstangen, die der Töpfer am Waldrand schlägt.
As the shaft reached greater depths, stability became a major concern. Support posts were installed on either side of the opening, forming the base for the lifting mechanism. Planks were laid around the rim to create a safe working platform for unloading the clay baskets.
Durch eine einfache Verstrebung gegen den Hang gewinnt das Fördergerät seinen festen Stand. Mit zwei Dielen wird am Schachtrand der Platz befestigt, auf den die hochgewundenen Körbe niedergesetzt und vom Grubenseil abgehakt werden können.
Clay was hauled up using a hand-operated winch connected to baskets or metal containers. Originally woven containers were used, but later replaced by sturdier metal tubs. Each load was carefully raised and set aside, allowing the shaft to be cleared step by step.
Wenn mit dem Verbinden des ersten Schachtabschnittes begonnen wird, muss ein dritter Mann helfen. Der Töpfermeister reicht die Buchenstangen mit den dicken Enden zuerst an.
To prevent collapse, the shaft walls were reinforced with bent wooden poles pressed tightly against the earth. These rings were arranged alternately to distribute pressure evenly. The reinforcement extended down to just above the shaft floor, ensuring stability during deeper excavation.
Die Stangen werden abwechselnd einmal rechts und einmal links herumgelegt, damit sich die starken Enden an der Wandung verteilen. Die dicht nebeneinander gesetzten Buchenreifen geben dem Schacht einen ausreichenden Schutz gegen hereinbrechendes Erdreich. Der Schacht wird so abschnittweise bis auf den Ton in 8 bis 12 Meter Tiefe niedergebracht. Mit dem Abraum schütten die Töpfer einen Gang auf, an dessen
Once the shaft reached the clay-bearing layers, the excavated material was transported to a nearby clay bed.
der Wandung
There, different clay types were deposited together in specific proportions. This mixing process was essential for producing pottery with the right working properties.
Unten im Ton, der in sich fest genug steht, kommt man ohne eine derartige Sicherung aus. Der Schacht erweitert sich hier glockenartig bis auf eine Weite von 2 bis In der Tonglocke sind 2 Männer beschäftigt, einer, der den Ton mit der Grubenhacke losschlägt und einer, der das Fördergut in den Topf füllt. Sie sind gerade dabei, den unteren Teil der Glocke zu erweitern. Hier lässt sich der Ton
Below the shaft, the excavation widened into a bell-shaped chamber. Here, clay could be broken out in large chunks using hand tools. The chamber's size depended on the thickness and quality of the clay layers available.
Nun wird die Wandung der Glocke mit leichten Hackenschlägen geputzt. Die Schlagstriemen weisen schräg nach oben und lassen die konische Form des Ausbaus erkennen.
Different grades of clay were not stored separately but combined directly during extraction. As the clay was spread along the access path, it helped keep the working area dry. Careful handling ensured the material remained usable once transported. Meals were prepared directly at the pit, using embers from the shaft fire. Food and drink were warmed, and work paused briefly before excavation resumed. Such routines were a practical response to long working hours in cold, remote conditions. After the main chamber was completed, side tunnels were carved into the clay walls. These chambers were dug carefully, shaping the ceiling first before removing material from the floor. Typically, several chambers extended outward from the central shaft. The pressure from surrounding earth placed strict limits on how long a shaft could remain open. Experience showed that work had to be completed within a few weeks before collapse became likely. Once the clay was fully extracted, the pit was abandoned, leaving little trace above ground. This was clay mining as it existed before machines shaped by manual labor, local knowledge, and constant risk. If you're interested in traditional crafts, forgotten industries, and real working methods from the past, subscribe to Uncovered Past.